Okay, what's going on, folks? Welcome to today's episode. Well, let me change that little camera angle real quick. Change that. That's better. All right. So yeah. What's going on, folks? Welcome to another pregame breakdown. Today we're breaking down, FAMU and West Florida, of course. So as we all know, West Florida comes in today at 2-0, looking pretty good as far as the D2 team goes and everything. And then, FAMU comes in 1-1 after losing last week to USF in a valiant effort, right? Which honestly, and funny thing is right now USF and Alabama are actually in a rain delay. So, with that being said, of course, we're going to talk about the usual, of course, a couple interesting facts or tidbits about today's game, players to watch for today's game. One player for FAMU that actually stood out last week as well, and then answering a couple questions, a couple of your questions as well. We're going to talk about keys to victory. Oh, wow, that was quick. We already got a comment. USF shocking right now. It's a weather delay. Calm down. It's a weather delay. And then honestly, too, it's like if you think about it, if there hadn't been a holding call on the opening kickoff, like let's be real. Give it time. Give it time. That's all I'm gonna say. Just give it time. But yeah, folks. With that being said, though, we're gonna get ready to roll this intro and stuff. Like I said, I'm gonna talk about keys to victory and stuff. Definitely talk about the score prediction and everything like that. And so to sort, also gonna talk about something interesting for you, University of West Florida. How long until they transition? This dude stink for Bama though. Bama's gonna cook. Oh yeah, no, I think they will. But yeah, no, of course, if you're watching on Twitter or if you're watching on YouTube or if you're watching on Facebook and stuff, if you want to leave a comment, go ahead and head on over to YouTube as well too. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and just throw that out there. But without further ado, intro's next, so don't go nowhere. Get comfortable. It's gonna be fun. Let's go. All right, so let's go ahead and jump right into it. And we already got a comment. Let's see. We need to get up early in this game and work on the running. Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. That is a fact because based on what I saw today, or not today, but based on what I watched throughout the week and stuff regarding West Florida, be pretty interested to find out what I saw. So it's a team that averages. I'm actually glad you said that because it actually leads me right into my points. It's a team that averages 35 points a game, and they've already also given up only 6 points in 2 games. So they've only given up 2 field goals, and at the same time too, they've only surrendered. Well, all right, so okay, their DBs do play 10 yards off the ball. They run the 3-3-5 defense, similar to what Jackson State showed you, which should prove to be in your favor. So, with that being said, right away, and spoiler alert, that is a key to victory. Establish the run game. If I am Willie Simmons, and if I'm trying to find a spark early on offense, I'm literally pounding this ball down West Florida's throat with Terrell Jennings, Jaquez Yant, and Kelvin Dean. I'm giving all three of them free reign. Just go crazy. Let the run game do what it does, especially if they line up in a 3-3-5. Now, again, with that being said, I was unable to find any actual recent tape on YouTube of West Florida. But what I was able to do is I was able to revert back to the Division II playoff game that West Florida played against Ferris State. And what I noticed was when they lined up against Ferris State, they gave Ferris State a good game. But when they lined up against Ferris State, they showed that 3-3-5, and Ferris State on the first play actually drove 67 yards and scored a TD. Just doing simple QB draws right up the middle every single time, straight up the middle, and it worked. So it's like, you know what? Establish your run game. Also, too, they did have 6 sacks as a defense last week in their win against McKendree, who they dominated 35-3. They scored 35, and then also, too, they were held to 168 yards against Kentucky Wesleyan. They scored 35, but struggled statistically. They gave up 403 yards of total offense in that game, 142 on the ground. But also, too, last week, and also that's the other thing, too, Pee Wee Jarrett at the same time in that game against Kentucky Wesleyan only threw 1 TD. But then it's crazy because he turned around the next week, last week against McKendree, and had the team as a whole had 529 yards of total offense, 329 yards passing, and 200 yards rushing. But last week they also had 15 penalties for 160 yards. So yeah, this is also once again a heavily penalized team that is also still looking to clean up their own mistakes. This is actually a genius point. FAMU's offense is better than we think because USF's defense has been giving Bama a bit of fits so far. I will say, even though it is still early in that game and they're in a rain delay, I agree. Even better. Yeah, no. Y'all should listen to Ace. Ace is spitting facts. The offense is better than we think. It's a lot better. Just need to be patient and have faith. Because right now, yes, it is true. USF is pushing Alabama to the limit. But also, too, we need to consider with what we're seeing from USF, the fact that USF is, oh my gosh, I thought I put in the other school. Okay, give me 1 sec. Didn't put it in right. But yeah, no, also that Ace is right, though. We need to consider the fact that, Alabama does not have a quarterback right now. And I think they have a QB problem or just something's not clicking with their offense yet. But Ace is right, though. FAMU's offense is better than we all think. And we need to all kind of calm down on thinking that the sky's falling. Well, that Bama QB is ass, so I might be wrong. Oh, no, he is. The whole room is, honestly, in my opinion. It's probably the worst one Nick Saban's ever had. Let the Moose loose. Yes, that too. Set up the run or let the run loose to establish the pass and let Moose cook. Because when Moose is on. And he's very, very dangerous. Okay, fix that now. Awesome. So, yeah, as I said to you, so players to watch for West Florida goes as follows. QB Pee Wee Jarrett, who played a pretty decent game in that Division II semifinal game against Ferris State. He struggled against Kentucky Wesleyan, as I stated earlier. Only 168 yards against Kentucky Wesleyan, passing 1 TD pass. But last week against McKendree, 21 of 28. When he's on, he is on. I think it'll be a lot clearer to see just how good they are. Oh, yeah, definitely. Like I said last week, after the game, that was the fastest team that FAMU will play all season. That was the fastest team. FAMU will not play an offense that defensively. FAMU will not see another offense that fluid the rest of the season. FAMU also won't see a tempo like what USF had the rest of the season. So, and the fact that you saw guys still hanging in there, not really going down with cramps or going down with injuries in a hot and humid stadium says a lot. So it's a good sign. They have tall DBs too. Yeah. West Florida. You're referring to West Florida, right? I'm assuming you are. Because that was one thing I did take away from it as well. But yeah, where was I? Yeah, so Pee Wee Jarrett, 21 of 28, 329 yards, 4 TDs last week, 1 interception, 11 carries, 53 yards rushing. No rushing TDs last week from Pee Wee Jarrett. The running back who returns as well, also who played in that D2 semifinal game against Ferris State. CJ Wilson, 12 carries, 62 yards. Wide receiver John Giles led them in wide receiving, 3 receptions, 102 yards, 2 TDs. Caden Leggett, I'm curious actually if he's related to Jordan Leggett, who played at Clemson. 4 receptions, 93 yards, 1 TD. And the linebackers, Gail Laurent and Onelio Rios. Laurent had 5 total tackles, 5 solo, 1 tackle for loss. And Rios had 4 total tackles, 4 solo, 1 tackle for loss. And then defensive lineman John McMullen, 4 total tackles, 4 solo, 3 tackles for loss. A pretty decent stout front 7. Yes, like 6 feet to 6'4". Yeah, see, so in that case, that is interesting because honestly, tall DBs typically tend to present to be more physical. So FAMU's wide receivers are going to have to be quick off the draw as far as getting off the line. Now, one thing I did take away again from the most recent film I was able to watch, which was not the last 2 weeks, from the Ferris State game, what I was able to take away was they didn't press their DBs. They had them playing off. So to say, now they played them up, they played them off, but at the same time too, they had their safeties only 10 yards off the ball, which I feel like was a little bit too close to the line of scrimmage, I should say. But at the same time too, it was like you're presenting in a 3-3-5, so like I understand the run support, but it's like you're getting gashed. You're getting nickel and dime, but just simple draw plays up the middle. So it's going to be interesting to see how this works out. But at the same time, too, FAMU's going to have, as far as passing game goes, FAMU's going to have to be, precise with passing and stuff because jump balls, unless Manny goes active today, they're going to be tough. You're going to have to win those matchups and win them handily at wide receiver because that's going to be tough. Now, as far as a couple facts about FAMU for today, the field's being named after Ken Riley in his honor tonight. And then at the same time, too, they've scrimmaged West Florida in the past. Willie Simmons has mentioned, actually, I've heard 2 different perspectives on this. Willie Simmons, I've heard, has said, they got the better of us the times that we did go against them. But then I've also heard the player perspective of when it's like they had to call the dogs off of West Florida. Like they were getting in West Florida's ass. So I'm not sure how this has gone before in the past, so to say. But it sounds like I'm hoping it's more so like someone's going to have to come and get FAMU off of West Florida today versus like West Florida gave them trouble. So I hope it's more of the latter, to be honest. Last week, FAMU also failed to establish a rushing attack. He had 5 turnovers, 3 interceptions, and 2 fumbles. And 2 of those fumbles were from Marcus Riley, 3 interceptions from Jeremy Musa, 12 penalties for 115 yards. So something's going to have to give today between the 2 teams. So I'm hoping this is not a penalty-heavy game. I'm hoping it's more of a discipline game. Yeah, Nick Dixon is one that you could use. Quan Lee from UC. That's another one. Chris Reed. Is Chris Reed going to play today is the thing. Is he active? That's one thing I'm looking forward to because I'm actually really curious to see Chris Reed play. Nick Dixon, I'm hoping he can repeat his success and show consistency. I'm hoping he does, and I think he will. Quan Lee, I'm not sure if Willie Simmons ruled him active this week. USF's front four has been keeping up with Bama's right now, so the trench is vastly superior to an FCS than we think. That's a good point regarding FAMU's offensive line. That is a very good point. Which also, speaking of that fact too, we also mentioned that on Wednesday night, me and Ace. So as we already know, Mike Marshall out for the season with a fracture. Along the offensive line, Cardell Thomas is a game-time decision today. So we are not too sure if Cardell Thomas will play yet, but we'll find out soon enough. At the same time, too, FAMU had 393 yards of total offense. Much better showing from the field goal unit this week, which is great because that can prove to be vital in a close game. Offense was transitioning smoothly when things clicked. Consistently generated pressure and created sacks last week. At the same time, too, you had 6 sacks on defense last week. Isaiah Major and company went crazy with those types of plays, and hopefully, I think that will prove to be beneficial as you go up against competition that is not as fast and not as superior. So as far as players to watch go, and it's actually to the Rattler Den's point, it's actually interesting. Nick Dixon is one of my players to watch today because he led the group in receiving yards last week. 6 receptions, 98 yards. He was very impressive last week. It's more so like his coming out party. Also, too, Jeremy Musa, 24-43 last week. You just don't want to see a guy throwing the ball that much. With 1 TD and, 3 interceptions. Yeah, you just don't want to see a guy throwing the ball that much. But, I understand, too, you get behind, your running game's not working. So this is why I say a running game is a QB's best friend. Because when your quarterback's thrown it 40-plus times, it's very, very difficult for you to, not turn the ball over. For you to ask Musa to not turn the ball over after throwing it 43 times, that's insane. You got to limit that. And the only way you can limit that is by establishing a ground game, which you didn't have last week. What's up, man? Or lady? What's up, man? Or lady? How are you today? So also too, so Terrell Jennings, 11 carries, 11 yards. Jaquez 8 carries, 22 yards. Look, you got to do better than that. And that's what I mean by establishing a ground game that is friendly to a quarterback. Defensively, Isaiah Major, 11 total tackles, 9 solo, 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss. Defensive side went crazy in this game, despite a losing effort. Anthony Dunn Jr., 12 total tackles, 6 solo, 2.5 tackles for loss. Johnny Chaney Jr., despite 2 hands to the face calls that were obvious upon replay, 10 total tackles, 7 solo, and 2 tackles for loss. Impressive. Very impressive on both ends. As well, too, so finally just jump into it and stuff with the questions and everything. So, how do you eliminate the mental errors? How do you eliminate them? You got to face them. Go out there and just, correct the wrong. So what's going to have to happen as far as the mental errors with, false starts on 4th and shorts? If you get in that situation again and you really need it, go do it again. Let the coaches show, or coaches should put players in the position to where, they can show okay, we have faith in you this time that you will get it right. Things like that. Give, as far as, Marcus Riley, 2 fumbles. Put him in a position to where it's you know what? We're going to come back to you again. Don't let him mentally check out. Keep him in the game. Let him realize, hey, we still trust you. We know what you're capable of. You are still that guy. Let him go out there and make plays. Let him correct himself, right his wrongs from last week. You do that, that's how you correct mental errors, as well too studying film, things like that. Will FAMU be able to establish a potent ground game again? Like I said earlier, Terrell Jennings and Jaquez Kelvin Dean did not have a good day last week, collectively as a whole, or even as individuals. So I think you have to establish your running game to set up your pass game today. Remember, West Florida's vulnerable if they show up in a 3-3-5. How do you take the pressure off Musa? I already said it. Running game. Will we see David Manigo today? Once again, to the Rattlers' den point. Honestly, I'm hoping you can. Because look, I know that hand injury's been like nagging and everything, and I know he dressed out for the Orange Blossom Classic. I'm not sure if he dressed out last week, but I'm hoping that he is active today and he is able to go. So hopefully, like that will prove to be beneficial. I have two mouses right here. I need to move one of these over. Thanks. I'm gonna come back to you and let you. Or I guess you're saying got a rebound for those certain players for Marcus Riley and company. I think that's what you're probably trying to say. Oh, okay, yeah. Reestablish that. Yeah, no, you do. And I think that they will, honestly, because like I said, that was about as stout as a front seven you're going to see all season long. And I think that they will, honestly, like, look, West Florida's going to show up in the 3-3-5, I think. And if they do, they're begging you to run it. They're begging you to run it. And the more that you run it and you gash them for big plays and stuff, it's not going to do anything but set up the passing game. I'm hoping that you have more tall receivers active today. I know Nick Dixon will be available today. I'm hoping Chris Reed's available today, like the Rattler Den said. I'm hoping Quan Lee is available today. I'm hoping that David Manigo's a go today, and his hand is perfectly taken care of. If so, definitely get the tall guys going, because you can literally just play action it, act like you're going to run. Their DBs want to play 10 yards off the ball, suck them in, pop them over top. Play action will eat these guys up. They're undersized at linebacker, big time vulnerability with the RBs. Oh yeah, definitely. They have linebackers that can fill gaps, but honestly, being undersized will present some sort of a challenge for them today. So I do think that this is a golden opportunity for your run game to bounce back, as well as your pass game to bounce back. Now, also too, I did think of this question as well too. I should have typed it actually, but who is the next Rattler that should be inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame? Since we are honoring Ken Riley today, I've honestly mentioned a couple. I actually had one that I was thinking about on Twitter that I talked about, but I mentioned Henry Lawrence is one guy that I think should be considered for the Pro Football Hall of Fame, coming from FAMU. As well, too, there's a former defensive back. Actually, you know what? While I do that, let's look at Henry Lawrence's stats as far as why I think he should be a Pro Football Hall of Famer. 3-time Super Bowl champion, 2-time Pro Bowler, played 187 games. He started 148 of them, 9 fumble recoveries in his NFL career, too, and FAMU's highest pick in the NFL draft. 1974, round 1, pick 19. So, yeah, definitely think he is someone that should get a nod for Canton. As well, too, one other one that a lot of people, or some know about, but some don't, I've also mentioned before. Glenn Edwards is another former FAMU player that made a living playing under the steel curtain back in the 70s that I think should also be mentioned for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. What's good? How are you? Doing good this afternoon or this evening? How are you? Yeah, so as I stated earlier, Glenn Edwards definitely one former Steeler player that should be considered for it. Honestly, it's kind of insane to me that he's not in, considering looking at his accolades: 2 Pro Bowls, 3 second-team All-Pros, 1 first-team All-Pro in 1976, the same year the Steelers won a Super Bowl, and a 2-time Super Bowl champion back-to-back years in Super Bowl 9 and Super Bowl 10. 39 interceptions in 142 games. Henry Lawrence and Glenn Edwards definitely are 2 FAMU players that should be in the Hall of Fame. John. Oh, he's talking to him. Oh, my bad. Yeah, but yeah, no, those are definitely two FAMU players that I think should be considered for Canton. But the thing is also too, there is, yeah, oh, definitely make that three. He is also another one. And you know what? I'll tell you what, if I can actually find it right here. I'll tell you why. Without him, Troy Aikman, Michael Irvin, and Emmitt Smith do not have the 3 Super Bowl rings that they have. Or, yeah, 3. 3-time Super Bowl champion, 2 first-team All-Pros in 94 and 95, 6 Pro Bowls from 1992 to 1996, and then again in 1998. And also, too, he started 180 games out of 198 that he played. 5 fumble recoveries as an offensive lineman. So, yeah, I definitely think Nate Newton, Glenn Edwards, and Henry Lawrence should be the next 3 FAMU players in the Hall of Fame. But at the same time, too, which is the unfortunate side of it, you have this thing with the Hall of Fame where they will, and it's really just effed up, but they will wait until certain players pass on to put them in the Hall of Fame for some reason. Such as, for example, Bob Hayes, unfortunately, was not able to attend his own Hall of Fame induction. Ken Riley, unfortunately unable to attend his own Hall of Fame induction. Ken Stabler, unfortunately unable to attend his own. 3 guys that should have got in a lot sooner than they did. And then not to mention, too, you factor in players like, and I'm going off the rail of FAMU players now, but I'm going to come back. You look at a guy like Drew Pearson, who's on the NFL's all-time 70s decade team, who should have been in the Hall of Fame, for some reason is just now getting in, or just now got in a year or 2 ago. So the NFL does have a problem, or the Pro Football Hall of Fame has a problem for some reason with a lot of these legends and stuff, because you cannot sit here and tell me, with Ken Riley being 5th all-time in interceptions, mind you, in my lifetime, from the tapes that I've seen, old school tapes and everything, people were trying to rally to get Ken Riley in the Hall of Fame back in 2001. Back in 2000, 2001, and in the late 90s. You can't sit here and tell me Ken Riley's 5th all-time in interceptions and is just now getting in the Hall of Fame. That's insane. He should have been in years ago. So I don't get the Hall of Fame's thinking behind it. So something definitely has to change in that aspect. Now, I was going to kind of, talk about West Florida for a little bit here, but, I will say, a couple things about West Florida that I do question before we do get into keys to victory. I question, how good is their offensive line? Saw their offensive line give up, too many plays in that D2 game against Fair State. I saw where, they weren't as consistent in establishing a rushing attack and things such as that. Also too, I saw Fair State get a couple of big explosive plays defensively and offensively. So that'll also be a challenge today too, which I think FAMU can take advantage of. As Kylan said in the comment section, they are undersized at linebacker, which works to an advantage for Terrell Jennings and Jaquez Yant especially. Also, too, one thing I will say about West Florida, seeing as though they have been a program since 2019 that, took down McNeese State, and then as well, too, Division II national champions and in the Division II national championship, or in the Division II playoffs consistently, how far are they away from upgrading to the FCS? That's one thing you got to look at. How far away are they? Because it can happen sooner than you think. But I think they are a couple of years away still. But, of course, that comes with improving facilities and things like that and having the money to do so. But, eventually I think that they will be an FCS program. All right, so keys to victory. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. And y'all can drop y'all's score predictions and stuff in the comment section as well, too. feel free to whenever you're ready. I'll post them and we'll share them all together. So keys to victory go as follows. Establish the run game and take the stress off Musa. That is key to victory number 1. I should bold that and I should star that for later. Discipline and consistency on defense. You can't have illegal hands to the face calls. You can't have blown coverages where you lose guys in coverage. You can't have issues like you had last week against USF where you had 2 guys covering a post route and a wheel route's wide open. And thankfully, Byron Brown just happened to miss it. And also, too, that factors in with key to victory number 3, avoid the mental errors. So with that being said, avoid the mental errors of jumping off sides on 4th and short. They're missing 2 starters. I think a D-line and offensive lineman. Watch the pregame. Okay. So that could work to FAMU's advantage today. Because that means then you have to put someone that's inexperienced in. So, interesting. Got another one. 100% agreed. Yeah. No, yeah, definitely. Yeah. So, yeah, that's my 3. Establish the run game, take the stress off Musa, discipline and consistency on defense, and avoid mental errors. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and drop my score prediction. Spoiler alert. I hope I'm right about this one again, too. So I'm definitely going to go FAMU 45, West Florida 20 today. Okay, we're in the same neighborhood for once. We're in the same neighborhood. Good guys 40, bad guys 17. Okay, yeah, we about in the same neighborhood. Be a couple points off, but we in the same neighborhood. I like it. 34-17. Okay. It's crazy. I was debating between 20 and 17 and stuff earlier this morning. I was like, which one do you go with? Which one are you going to go with? But yeah, no, these all make sense, honestly. These all make sense. So yeah, I agree with y'all. We all agree this time around for once, finally. So yeah, definitely. I'm going to stick with it. FAMU 45, West Florida 20. So before we do wrap things up and everything such as that, of course, this game is on HBCU Go for those of you that are like me that are watching this at home today. If you are watching beforehand at home, even though some games are in weather delays and some games are in halftime, Albany State's actually playing Morehouse. I don't know why, but on CNBC. Also, too. Oh, we got more. Got more. Clean game with no penalties. Past week was really painful. Yeah, no, it was. It really was. And I think it'll be better today. 37-10. If the defense comes out like it did last week with that same type of drive, not making errors and everything, but playing disciplined football, but with the same fire that they had last week against a slower team, because UWF is not as fast as USF, I could see this happening. I could see the defense holding West Florida to 10. That USF game was a good preparation since Pee Wee is a dual threat. Yes, it really was. And even too, of course, it goes back to seeing 2 dual threat quarterbacks in the last 2 games. You had Zy McDonald for JSU in the second half of last week's game, and then you had Byron Brown, who was also a dual threat. So seeing both of them in the past 2 weeks prepares you for now what you're going to see today. Because I think Byron Brown and Pee Wee Jarrett are the 2 best dual threats you're going to see this season. Byron Brown is still the cream of the crop, though, as far as the dual threats you'll see this season. But yeah. So yeah, folks, that's going to do it for me on here. If you're on your way to the game still, we got about 30 more minutes, less than 30 minutes until kickoff, about 25, 24 minutes. There will be a post-game breakdown or post-game recap and everything. We'll talk about it, what went right, what went wrong, and everything such as that. As well, too, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the channel and everything such as that. If you are still on your way out to the game, be safe. watching and we just be safe on your way out there driving and everything, such as that. I don't know what's going on with this whole tailgate thing that's got everyone in an uproar and stuff. I haven't seen the hill and everything and what's going on with it and stuff. So I won't see it until homecoming. So then that way I'll get a better idea of like what's got everybody in this huge uproar. I think it'll be fine still. You can tailgate and you can walk on Perry Street and get all the food you want still. Also, too, I'm asking for a favor from if anybody's out there at the game right now. If you so happen to go outside on Perry Street, just outside the field house, that gate right there, if y'all see like a stand that sells snapper and shrimp and fish or other fish and fries and stuff, DM us on Twitter and let us know what the name of it is. Because for the life of me, I cannot remember the name of it. But they were at homecoming last year, and the snapper they had was fire. So if anybody could just like go outside on Perry Street, just walk it. It's some dudes from Jacksonville that were selling it. Just DM us and let us know. Like I would really appreciate that. But yeah, but I know I'm thinking with my stomach now. I need to stop. But yeah, folks, that's gonna do it for me. Hope y'all enjoyed this episode as much as I've enjoyed bringing it to you. And as always, stay safe, stay blessed, and we'll see you after the